Encouragement to turn tragedies into your own triumphant life story? If so, this podcast is for you. Listen to powerful guests who have persevered through challenges so you can gain strength to build your championship life. The host of Professor of Perseverance podcast, Dr. James Purdue.
Hey, come on again today. Let's get some motivation, inspiration. Let's get some encouragement that we know when something's going to beat us up, we get through it, move on, have a great life despite whatever happened. All right. Hey, our guest today, man, it's going to be awesome. I don't know if this is my first. It's not my first one because I had repeatedly dead Fred on here before. But this incredible story of a near-death experience leading to a spiritual awakening. That's what I like to hear now. And then creating a global movement to spread positive message. Now we're talking. We're going to persevere, get through this near-death experience, spread some. And Rick Ornelas, thank you for the show, brother.
Hey, Dr. James, it's a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome, and thank you for spending your valuable time with us. And don't get overwhelmed with the doctor. I can't write out a prescription for you or anything, but I can drive you to your pharmacist if you really need me to.
Okay, that's funny. All right, we'll stick to James then.
There we go. Thank you.
Or Professor.
Hey, Rick,
call you the professor?
James is great with me. So,
okay.
All right, now, Rick, let's dive in here real quick. Near-death experience. I haven't gotten that close where I felt near death, but I have had 5 other people come up to me and said, "Man, I thought you died 10 years ago or 5 years ago," because I had my neck broke playing football, and you know how people spread words. He died during it or he died after it. Yeah, I've had other people go, "Man, I thought you were dead." So, but I've never personally the near-death thing. So, well, I say that I did attempt suicide 3 times in 3 days.
Wow.
And one time, I guess I was close to near death. I guess the people found me, said I wasn't breathing, and got me to the hospital. I spent 7 weeks in the hospital, but I don't remember all that. So, all right.
Yeah,
that's
and
enough.
It's interesting because I mean, as you say that, and you know that's I can empathize for what you went through there. I don't know what the Webster's definition of near-death experience is, right? But I just know what happened to me and what others have told me about what happened, with me and my family. And as the story goes, it was about 21 years ago. We were living in Southern California, where I'm originally from. My wife is from, and my wife and I were young. We had starting to raise a young family. We had 2 daughters at the time. We now have 3, and they're all fully grown. But we had daughter was, they were 1 and 4, my oldest daughters, and we had driven down to a children's birthday party that was a couple hours south of where we lived in Los Angeles, and we were coming back on a Sunday afternoon. It was late afternoon, and we're driving back home, and the weather changes and it starts to rain really hard to where the wipers can't really clear the water. You can't see too well. And a lot of cars had pulled over, and we kind of contemplate pulling over, but it's going to be dark soon. And my wife is worried that it's going to be worse if we are driving in the dark, and it's, we can't see like that. Right. And it was, like I said, it was late Sunday. We had to get the kids home. We had to get them in bed. We had to, work and school the next day. So we decided to continue on slowly. Well, I'm driving in the first lane, in the slow lane, and all of a sudden I hit a large puddle, and we start hydroplaning, and we start spinning out of control, and we spin across 4 lanes to the left.
Oh, wow.
And we're about to hit the center divider, and I'm screaming, and my wife is screaming, and I'm trying to steer and don't really know what I'm doing. But for whatever reason, we're just inches away from hitting the center divider, and we don't, and we start spinning the other direction. And then we spin all across the 4 lanes the other way, 5 lanes, and we go off the shoulder, and we hit we go up a dirt embankment and we hit a brick wall and we flip over and we land back on the wheels completely. And the windshield is smashed down to about eye level, or the roof is smashed down to eye level. The windshield's shattered, and the right side glass is all shattered, and the car's filled with glass and dirt. And I checked my wife, and she's okay. She said her shoulder's a little sore from, we hit the wall on that side. And my kids are now crying, but they seem fine. And there's no blood. There's glass everywhere, but there's no blood or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so we managed to crawl out of my door, and we get them out, and it's still pouring rain. And we're sitting on the side of the road there, and this elderly couple had pulled over, and the lady grabs this big blanket and wraps it around my wife, who's holding my two daughters as tight as she can and crying and thanking God. And I'm talking to the gentleman, and he tells me that it's the most incredible thing that he had ever witnessed. And he says that he thought for sure we were killed by what he had just seen. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't, we get taken off in an ambulance, and they tow the car off, and they check the kids, and the ER doc, he doesn't even want to really run tests or anything. He says, oh, they're fine. They're resilient. They're kids. They're all fine. And I was like, you didn't know what we just went through, but he's like,
That's
no,
right.
they're good. Well, it wasn't until the next day. So then I was thinking, was it really that bad? Right. And then the next day, my father-in-law drives me down to the impound yard to get the rest of our things out of the vehicle, because, it was obviously totaled, and we had stuff in the trunk, and my daughter's, toys and all that. And we get there, and my black Grand Prix is sitting on a flatbed tow truck out front of the office. And I go inside, and I talk to the attendant, and I say, hey, I'm here to get my things from my car outside. And he says, which one is your car? And I said, it's the black Grand Prix. And he looks me square in the eye, and he said, that's not your car. And I said, yeah, that's my car. I know it. That's my car. That's, we were in an accident yesterday. And he said, no, whoever was driving that is dead, or at least, in the hospital, severely injured.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think much. And then I start thinking, and, I literally had to convince him that I was my car. And he tells me, he says, wow, you're just so lucky, because I can always tell what happened to the driver by the look of the vehicle. And I've had many other people tell me the same thing. In fact, I was doing a podcast interview like this with someone who was a former traffic investigator, and he was like, yep, that's exactly what I would have told you. And so it was that period of reflection where I realized, hey, something special happened, and people had told us, you all should have been killed, and Guardian Angel protected you, and that's that's what my near-death experience was, because I really believe, James, that myself and my family, we all could have been killed that day or severely injured, and we weren't.
Yeah, no doubt that when you flip a vehicle and all that weight is transferred, and like you said, the roof is down to eye level and stuff. Oh yeah, there's an opportunity for disaster to happen quickly. Yeah, and listening to your story definitely had somebody wrapped around you and the family to protect you. I believe in that stuff. I believe I can't explain why some people live through it, some people don't. I have no idea. I'm hesitant to say when people say, "Well, it's their time to go." Well, I mean, I don't know that. God's got the plan, not me. I mean, but I hesitate to say, but when someone lives through something like you've been through and others, I got to believe that somewhere you're protected.
Yeah, me too. And honestly, James, it took me a while to realize that, because I was young and I was cocky and, very overconfident, and felt like I could just.
You were like me at that age. Thought I was invincible. Nothing's going to help.
Exactly.
Nothing's going to happen to me. Nothing's going to stop me. Here I am, got to protect my family. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I did plenty of stupid things back then. And like I said, it took others. It took my mom and many others saying, look, something really special happened. And that's where I started to really reflect on it over a period of a couple months, where I'd find myself just sitting, because I had to drive for work. I was in sales and I had a territory, and so I had to drive for work, and I would find myself sitting in my car, and just for long stretches I'd start daydreaming and kind of lose time and be looking at this guardian angel pin that my mom had given me, and just reflecting on the whole experience. And it was it really changed me in many ways that I didn't realize, at the time.
So with this invincibility attitude and things like that, cockiness and everything, you look and think you're getting in life is because what you want and what you put out, not thinking about what God's plan may be. I mean, that was me at that time as well.
Yep. Yeah, very, very true. Because I was, and I remember, so I had four older sisters. I have three, one passed away, but I remember my sister Liz telling me one time, not long after that accident, saying, we were in some argument, we were in some fight, and I was just not thinking of anyone else. And she's like, you don't think of anyone else. You just think of yourself. And here I was, a father and everything. And she was like, you're just being so selfish and everything. And I remember thinking back, how upset I was for her saying that, and realizing that she was absolutely right, that I was being selfish, that I was, trying to just make my own plan and not follow God's plan. And
yeah, I believe that sometimes we go through our incidents. One is God's wanting to show you, hey, I'm here for you, and there's a stronger thing than you. Okay. But it's also to show us how strong we are in life and how we can handle situations, and then how we can overcome those to help other people in the future. And, that's one thing you say you want to do is spread the positive around global range.
Yeah. And that's where it took me a while to figure that out too, because the, you don't really see that path back when you're living through it, when you're going through those struggles. Like you were saying, you're just in the, in the muck of it, and you're like, okay, this is just awful, or this is terrible. And you don't see that there's bigger things or better things that are going to come from it. And for me, that journey, it took 20 full years. It took 20 years of reflection, and I figured God wasn't ready with me yet. So he was still developing me. And I like to say he was chiseling away, just chiseling one little chisel strike at a time.
What was the Bible talking about? Pruning?
Yes. The pruning. Yes. I remember what passage it is, but yes, he's pruning me and pruning me and pruning me and pruning me. And then 20 years later, fast forward to 2020, that's when it all crystallized for me. That's when I was going through a period of struggle, because my business had suffered because of COVID, and I was anxious and fearful of the future. And that's when I decided to write the book that had been inspired by my accident. My book, 12 Hours of Heaven. I decided to write that. And the idea for that book came during one of those times where I was sitting there staring at that guardian angel pin that I had talked about. Yeah, that's where the idea hit me like a movie. And I thought it was special, but I wrote about a page and I didn't do anything with it for 20 years. And then in 2020, I said, hey, people are suffering. People need inspiration. They need motivation. Now's the time to help others and stop focusing on yourself and being a victim.
Well, during this COVID, during the COVID especially, people are looking for hope.
Yes. Yeah. And it's so true. And I think that really helped me write, because it's funny, because in my intro, I call it, that was all my writing fuel. That was my writing fuel, like everything that was going on in 2020, COVID and other things that were happening in the world, that motivated me to write. And that's when I entered that spiritual time where I felt so connected to God and the Holy Spirit, and my writing. I went from writing 500 words in a day to writing over 2,000 in a couple hours. And I was able to get that book finished in under 3 months and get it out get it out in 5 months, because I felt people needed some inspiration and some hope. And I wanted to do my part, and I felt I was being called to do my part.
Hey, now it's amazing. Let's step back a little bit. It's amazing, and we were talking about, you know, you didn't realize how bad the accident was because y'all came out unhurt, basically, no bleeding, nothing like that. But when you go back and look at the vehicle, you're thinking, man, somebody should have been dead in that thing. When you look at it
Hmm.
from there, like, yeah, I was in a bad automobile accident and we flipped over, and actually, my brother got 50% of his body burnt. I pulled him out of the fire, put the fire out on him, put another guy out, went back in for the third guy he'd already gotten out. But nobody died. But looking at
Wow.
the vehicle, there should have been at least one person dead in there from there. So yeah,
Yeah.
we went through a similar with that, but again, we didn't think any more about it than we live our life, from there. But it took a lot of pruning for us to grow and mature enough to realize that miracles are there. Protection was definitely there for all of us. And yeah, to go from there. So we just got to, we got to realize better in life that little miracles take place. And these little miracles are huge if we realize it in time.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, James, because I know for me, and I'm sure there's many people listening or watching that don't realize that is that there's a potential for a little miracle every day, and and you don't realize it until you look back,
Hmm.
and oftentimes it's that one thing that you do, that kind word that you say to someone, or that action that you do, or that that positive impact you have on someone. You may not know the effect that it has on their day, but as I've been on this path for the past couple of years, I've spoken to hundreds of people from all over the world that have talked about what we now have coined spark moments, these moments that have a ripple effect, that it's one tiny little act, and then you realize that changes the trajectory of someone's life, or it alters the course, or puts them on a better path, or
Hmm.
and those happen every day. Those are little miracles that happen every day, and they turn into be big miracles. But yet at the time, you don't realize, that they're
Yeah,
miracles.
well, a lot of us, we just think, oh, it's a coincidence, or hey, look what just happened. Boy, I'm lucky. When in reality, it was a miracle. And I got a friend, Bird. Hey, Bird, I'm talking to you again, buddy. That him and his dad have said that there's no such thing as coincidence. That's God being anonymous, and that's what they've said. And so realizing that as well. But yeah, how often, especially me growing up when I was younger, man, that was lucky. So it's not
Yeah,
this.
me too. I
It's
mean,
not the luck. It was meant to be there, and we have to recognize that and use it for the good. And an example here is a friend of mine, and he was a drugger. But man, we grew up and knew each other. But one day he told me he found a $20 bill, and he says, "Man, God has blessed me." I said, "Well, neither God has blessed you or the devil's tempting you. What do you think?" And he says, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, are you going to use it to buy shoes and food, and maybe go spend a little bit on a homeless person to buy them something, maybe?" I said, "Or are you going to take it and do drugs?" And he says, "Oh, well, he went on and did drugs with it." So,
mm,
yeah, so I said, I said, what little miracles we look at, we've got to look at them in the way, is that a miracle that God's blessing us, or is that Satan tempting us to go the direction? So we got to focus on that as well, and it's
yeah,
how we view it.
yeah, absolutely, James. That's an awesome perspective, because so often in life, our perspective is what makes the difference.
Hmm.
And you know, for you or I, these times where the accidents we were in, we could both look at that and say, "Oh, that was terrible. That was a tragedy," or we can look at it and say, "What good came from that? What did that inspire?" People didn't die, and look at the impact that it had on us long term. And there's opportunity for that every day. It's just a matter of the perspective that you have around it.
One of my next book I'm wanting to write, I haven't got totally all into it yet. Well, one of my, I'm coining my one phrase here. I know some of y'all are tired of hearing it, but you're going to hear it again today. But I tell people that sometimes we have to walk through the fertilizer to smell the rose, and so that's, I think it's going to make a title of one of my books one day, and how we go through fertilizer to be able to, at the end, smell the rose.
Yeah, I love it. I like that. I'll push that phrase for you because I do love it. I mean, I say that like our struggles become our strengths and
Mm-hmm.
our obstacles become our opportunities. And,
Mm-hmm.
um, from, uh, from the, the challenges you can get courage and confidence and yours is a more creative way of saying all that.
Well, and it goes back to like you're just saying, it's our perspective. All right, me with my injury, spinal cord injury. Everybody's having a spinal cord injury every day, every year. Okay, and so we could sit and do one of two things: poor pitiful me, and have someone water me like a plant and feed me, and I get to I get to watch the TV that the person is in the room with me because they're controlling the remote and watch their shows, not mine. Or the perspective is what good can come out of this and do the best I can in life.
Yeah.
Same thing with you. You could have been going, oh man, I just beat the devil from this thing, and then go and do other stupid stuff to try to beat the devil more. Or you finally realize, like I said, it took you 20 years to act on it. But again, it was God pruning you all them years, planting the seeds all these years, and
Mhm.
then finally realizing I got something good to come out of this. Now I need to share it and help other people.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And we're all on different, I guess, timelines, different paths.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one person it's going to take 3 months, and one person it's going to take 3 years, and one person 30 years. And it's just the pruning, the growth and the pruning just takes different time cycles.
And here's the great thing about it is you're setting your seeds to sow as you're pruning by someone reading your book. You may never know who you've helped in life. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
That you've said all this and it may be 20 years and they remember something from that book that goes back and finally hits them and starts doing what they're supposed to do. Okay. And then
Yep.
you're going to know somebody immediately. Somebody's going to find you one day. They're going to say, man, your book was so awesome and letting you know it changed my life. But there's a lot of people we'll never know. But that's not for us to know. People say, if I can help one person, okay, you probably have way more than one. You just don't know it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And when I started down this path, a couple years ago, one of my mentors, I started kind of struggling at the beginning because when I had the idea for iSpark Change and decided to work on everything, I shared it with some close family and some close friends and everything. And some of them were just kind of like, they weren't really as excited as I was, right? They didn't share my passion, and it kind of hurt, because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, they should really be happy on what I'm looking to accomplish. And he told me, he said, you know what, you're not creating it for the people that aren't going to be impacted. You're creating it for the people that will be impacted, and
That's
that you
right.
may not know the impact, and who knows how long it's going to take, all that stuff. Just exactly what you were saying, right? And that even if it's just one person, then it's all worth it. And that's the approach I've gone into it for the past couple of years, is saying, hey, I'm going to work on this till the day I die. And I told God, I said, if I have to do it solo, I'll do it solo. If I have help, that's great. And I told him, hey, it'd be nicer to have help, right?
That's right. A
and then
community.
and then I also told him, which is great, like to be on, to shows like yours, but then I also said, because sometimes, we pray and we ask God for things, and I said, hey, if every now and again you can at least give me a little sign that I'm, making an impact, that I am doing things, that you want me to do. I am following the path that you've set before me. And I have to say, with the resounding, yes, and warmth in my heart, that he's done that. He's given me those signs along the way in the past couple of years. And they come, just, never know, that they'll come, or I'll get a message like you said, or someone will tell me this, or, something happens. And the beautiful thing is, the more I have that perspective of everything as an opportunity for growth, everything I can learn from, the more I see the signs, because then I start seeing them all over the place,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh
And
yes.
yeah, and that's a beautiful place.
I tell you, it's amazing that we are so confident in everything we do, but yet we're so selfish and unconfident, unsure of life because we need this little affirmation. God, if you can show me that I really am helping someone, and instead of going with God's plan, you are helping someone, and I'll give you a great, I say great, it's just an example of what happened is twice, about a year apart, I just felt like my speaking opportunity wasn't working like I wanted it to. And then twice I go, I'm just done with speaking. I haven't really seen much coming from it, and it's not working like I wanted, so I quit. With twice, again, a year apart, I go to the store to walk my canine companion, Ricardo. We go to his favorite establishment. And this girl comes up the first year and she says, "Oh, there's Ricardo." I said, "Oh, you met him before?" I said, "He meets so many people. I don't remember." She says, "Oh, no, I never met him, but he's on the front cover of your book, right?" I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh, you read my book?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "If you don't mind, could you tell me how you got the book? Did someone refer it to you? Were you searching motivational? Did you find it laying in a trash can or in a gutter?" And so now, before I tell you how she found it, a year later, I'm going through this poor, pitiful me again. My speaking's not doing anything. And so I'm done with it. Forget it. I was at the same store, walking my dog, Ricardo, and someone catches me and says, "I've read your book 4 times. I'm letting you know it's going to help me." Well, when he said 4 times, first thing in my head, I'm going, "Bull crap, you ain't read it no 4 times." I didn't say it to him, but I'm thinking it. And so then same question, how'd you get it? Find laying around, whatever. Now here's where both of them is where God would kick me in the butt and say, "No, you need to listen. Things are working. It's going according to plan." Both of them told me, again, a year apart, both answers were, "I was incarcerated in the county jail, and your book is in the library, county jail library." And I read it. So when you get those small affirmations, like you were saying, then we know that we're helping. When we ought to be trusting, we're helping.
Yeah, exactly. And those, like you said, you don't necessarily know the impact on those two individuals, but it is probably far beyond what we can measure. Only God can measure. And it is, I think God will sometimes, if we're not listening, he'll turn up the volume a little bit, or he'll tell us in a new way, in a different way, send a different messenger, right? Like
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And that's what it takes for some of us sometimes.
Well, definitely me, because I hate to say it, I'm still hard-headed in my older age, and I still need that little kick in the pants to remind me. It's a shame I'm like that, but I'm human and do the best I can and go from there. But yeah, if sometimes we have to get a different messenger or a different way to get excited and go again.
Yep.
This is one reason I started my podcast, is I was thinking, I'm pushing my message out the best I can. Let's get out here and let's get other people's messages out there so we can help more people. People will get tired of hearing me talk. Let's get other people's messages out there. And your message, like everybody else, you fire me up for the day. Hearing your story, I'm ready to go get started. I'm ready to go get this antibiotic done again today and get all fired up and go to the next thing in life. So I appreciate you coming on here, Rick, and sharing with us. And from there, you're amazing, and your family. Obviously, no doubt in my mind what you told me when flipping over, because first thing I'm thinking, boy, there's going to be some serious injuries in there. And for that not to happen, it's a miracle, and go from there and don't second guess it. So appreciate you being on here. And Rick, go ahead and give us your websites and other social media, how people can find you. I know you do a podcast you mentioned earlier, but go ahead and tell that out.
Yeah, sure, James, and thank you for asking. And first off, it's been a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed our conversation. But as far as where people can find us, it's just the letter I, Spark Change, on all platforms. We have a very active Instagram. They can see motivation and inspiration on a daily basis. Also Facebook, or we have a YouTube channel. And then our podcast is the I Spark Change podcast, where we feature people that are making a difference in the world, and we share their stories and help amplify their message of spreading positive change and social impact. And if they go to our website, which is isparkchange.com, they can join the community. That's just committing to spreading positive change and making the world better. And we don't spam you. You don't get anything. You get a newsletter once a month. that highlights some of these people that are doing great work and shares more about what we're doing. And we're growing our community because our eventual goal is to have the world's first social media platform that impacts, where you're connecting and impacting all these people that are doing good in the world, and to have 1 billion people in that community within the next 5 years. So,
amen, brother. There you go. So I'll
yeah,
definitely get in and sign up and join as well to be part of that billion.
yeah,
So
thank
that's
you.
amazing. Then other people, get on and share your message with your writing, and then maybe Rick will reach out and get on his show. So,
Yes, yeah, exactly.
hey, Rick, again, thank you for being here. Hey, we know there's people hurting and struggling today, and they need some piece of gold nugget positivity to get them through today. And if you can share one with us, that'd be a blessing.
Well, the thing that comes to mind, James, is that, and I know was the case for me, is that oftentimes when you're struggling, is that we feel that we're all alone. We feel that we're isolated. That's how I felt, 2020 and other times. Is it's just I'm isolated. I'm all alone, and even if you have family around, even if you have friends, you feel that it's all you. And just to know that, first off, God is always there. But even if they, even if they're, not a very spiritual person, and that's, not for them, just to know that there are millions, billions of other people that are going through things just like them. Just because what you see on the outside or on social media, we all have our own struggles on the inside. We all have the things that we're dealing with and the challenges and adversities that we have to overcome. And there's comfort in knowing that you're not the only one going through those things. And once you realize that, then it opens you up to sharing with others and to opening your heart to others. And that's really where the healing starts coming in and the connection starts coming in.
Amen, brother. Yeah, once we realize that we're not on that boat by ourselves, that, like I said, there's multiple other people. Yeah, it's a shame we can be in a room of 1,000 and still be lonely and singled out and then not understand. But once we realize there's other people who's been through it, contact them, get some advice how to get through it. Get through Facebook everywhere. Has all these groups. Find a mentor, coach, and someone that you can open up with, and then you take everything you learn. How about the next person ahead of you? So
Yeah.
pay it forward.
Yeah.
Rick,
Amen.
thank you for being here, brother. Appreciate everything. And I'm glad that our paths got to cross. And I'm excited about it. Again, you got me all fired up to get going next. And so, hey, everybody else, be sure to share us out. Someone needs a big positive message to see that when tragedy comes, man, a good thing can come out of it. All right, everybody else, do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your paralysis.